Isn't everything we're doing in life a way to be loved a little more?
That's Celine from Before Sunrise, isn't it?
Right, Evelyn. I find that quote truly encapsulates the spirit of the film. I mean, all the long dialogues, the soul-bearing, it's all about wanting to be loved, isn't it?
Interesting. And well, could we say that it is the environment, Vienna in this case, that creates the right ambience for such love to blossom?
That's an interesting perspective. For two strangers to reach such a level of intimacy in such a short span of time, the place must be doing something right. So, what do you think? Does the place have that power?
Brings us right back to our central theme, doesn't it? The link between the environment and romantic connections.
Quite so, Evelyn. Well, it seems we're ready to delve deeper into the romantic alleys of Vienna and explore how they make us relive the timeless appeal of Before Sunrise.
Before Sunrise, a timeless classic in the world of cinema, wouldn't you agree, Chloe?
Absolutely, Evelyn. It's a cinematic masterpiece that truly warms the heart.
Directed by Richard Linklater, starring Ethan Hawke as Jesse and Julie Delpy as Celine, this film is beautifully built around the chance encounter of two strangers on a train, followed by their spontaneous decision to disembark together in Vienna. A simple story that unravels leisurely across the streets of Vienna, presenting a romance which is not quite your typical love story.
And the magic is in that simplicity, isn't it?
Indeed, Chloe. The beauty of this movie lies in the delicate unraveling of their connection. It's 1995, a time when social media was not yet dominant, and this lack of digital distraction allowed for their connection to unfold authentically, through long, intellectual conversations and shared experiences.
And knowing the movie is set over just one day, somehow it feels like a lifetime of sharing was packed into those fleeting hours, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, Chloe. That's because it's not just sharing of words, it's their lives intertwining with each passing moment. The city of Vienna serves as the perfect backdrop, almost becoming another character and facilitator of their growing bond. The film brilliantly exploits the city's quiet charm and distorted reflections on the Danube River to echo the transient yet profound relationship between Jesse and Celine.
Evelyn, Vienna seems to play an integral role in the chemistry between Jesse and Celine.
How so, Chloe?
Well, just picture any other city. Would their connection have been as profound or intriguing if they had disembarked in, say, New York or Paris?
Intriguing thought. Vienna with its romantic vibes certainly played its part.
Exactly. The charming streets, the classic architecture, the quaint cafes, everything about this city screams romance, adding to the chemistry between Jesse and Celine.
Wow! When you put it like that, it does make me ponder. I wonder if different locations influence how connections form, like how a cocktail's taste changes with ingredients.
Great analogy. If we think of Jesse and Celine as ingredients, Vienna was like the mixer, blending them perfectly.
Quite interesting, Chloe. Going by that analogy, it's as if each element of the city contributed to their bond. Should we then say the setting was crucial to their romance?
I would definitely say so. Setting seems to play a powerful role in this narrative. Will it be the same in other narratives as well? That's something to think about.
Shall we talk a bit about Richard Linklater, the director of Before Sunrise?
I'd love to. I find his storytelling style quite unique.
Exactly, Chloe. Linklater has this style, almost a rhythm, where he lets dialogue unfold very organically. It's very much in the moment, and I think he captured that in Before Sunrise amazingly.
His style feels so real to life, like nothing is forced. Everything evolves naturally, just like in real-life interactions.
Couldn't be truer. This reminds me of another Linklater's film, Boyhood. Do you remember it?
Oh God, that's another masterpiece. Shot over 12 years, it shows life unfolding in real time, doesn't it?
Indeed. And isn't it incredible how he carries the same theme of real-time progression in two completely different films? Boyhood, showing a boy growing up, and Before Sunrise, showing a relationship growing in.
That just shows how versatile Linklater is as a director. No wonder his movies leave such a profound impact on us.
True, the connect to reality strikes a chord. Compare this with mainstream movies nowadays, where things feel rushed or over the top. Linklater's style is like a breath of fresh air.
I know, right? Like the long, heartfelt discussions between Jesse and Celine in Before Sunrise, that's rare and oh so beautiful.
Couldn't have put it better, Chloe. Richmond Linklater really has his own unique way to tell stories, and kudos to that. Speaking of real-life connections, let's talk about the cinematic elements of Before Sunrise, where Linklater masterfully captured the authenticity of Vienna. The locations, the natural lighting. How did that strike you, Chloe?
I found it captivating, really. Vienna almost feels like a character in the film, setting the stage so perfectly for Jesse and Celine to explore not just the city, but each other.
Interesting point about the city itself as a character. Think about their meeting in the train, their charming encounters in parks and coffee shops, and even their intimate conversations in a cramped, humble room, all framed beautifully in their natural environment.
And it's not just what you see, but what you feel. You sense Vienna's tranquility, its romantic ambiance, and that in itself incites connection, or the possibility of one. Evelyn, do you think the environment played a role in accelerating their chemistry?
Oh, definitely. It's no coincidence they connected in such a romantic city. But what impresses me about Linklater's choice of locations is their simplicity. It's not about grand scenic shots of Vienna, but it's the alleyways, the bridges, the record shops, places where you can actually have those long conversations.
Yeah, where it becomes more about the people and their interactions. The natural lighting, too, gives the film a very organic feel, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's almost as if we're walking alongside them, experiencing every ray of the sunset, every flicker of the street lamps. I think it makes the audience feel more connected to the characters and their love story.
I gotta say, this instant chemistry thing kind of bugs me.
Feels too Hollywood or too poetic?
Maybe both. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I believe romantic chemistry takes time to unravel. It isn't immediate.
Well, that's a valid perspective. But consider this. The dialogues in Before Sunrise act as a driving force for the relationships, wouldn't you agree?
Well, true. Their conversations were incredibly engaging, almost intoxicating to just listen to.
Exactly. What may seem like an instant connection, I think, is an accumulation of shared beliefs, shared pasts, and shared desires that surface through their conversation.
I see your point. But wouldn't you say then that chemistry is fundamentally about alignment on deeper levels, like values and beliefs, rather than just spontaneous attraction?
I'd say both can coexist. Like in Before Sunrise, it's a bit of instant attraction, a bit of intellectual alignment, and a bit of destiny. All simmered in the dialogue. You know, the more I reflect on it, the more I wonder. Was it really love at first sight for Jesse and Celine, or was it just a mutual crush? A sudden, intense infatuation?
I think it's a fine line to tread, isn't it? There's no denying that they were drawn to each other instantly, but did they fall in love right away? I'm not so sure.
Both of them might have felt the same rush of emotions, the butterflies in the stomach, that we often mistake for love.
That's an interesting perspective. Do you think that because they were strangers in a foreign place, the circumstances intensified their feelings for each other?
I'm inclined to believe so, Chloe. Oftentimes it's the setting, the context which amplifies the emotions. Although I must admit, I've come across quite a few viewer opinions that argue it was love at first sight in Before Sunrise.
Really? That's intriguing. Why do they think so?
They feel that how Jesse and Celine connected on such a deep, intellectual level from the get-go screamed true love. But, well, it opens up another question. Can true love exist without any time spent together?
That's a tricky one, isn't it? Speaking from personal experience, I've had instances where I felt an immediate connection with someone, but it turned out to be fleeting. At the same time, I've also met people where the bond only strengthened with each passing day.
Right. That's been my experience as well. Attraction, intense feelings, they can be temporary and misleading. Remember, here we're talking about just one day, a span of 24 hours. Can we hold it to the standards of a true, everlasting love?
Evelyn, let's talk about something this movie is known for. The long, meandering conversations Jesse and Celine have. I've seen some people call it romantic courtship. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. In most of today's movies, love blossoms with a good-looking hero rescuing the damsel, a stolen castle, or a magical kiss. Before Sunrise subverts this cliché. Their conversations were their courtship.
These weren't just chit-chat, were they? They were raw, layered, filled with thoughts, dreams, fears. It was a perfect breeding ground for intimacy. Do you see something similar in contemporary dating?
I love that question. I'm not an expert on contemporary dating, but I think it's also characterized by getting to know each other. We have so many platforms where people chat before they even meet up. So you could say there's some similarity.
But here's something I'm curious about. The conversation between Jesse and Celine escalated so quickly. Is it really possible to open up to a stranger just like that? Even I, being an open person, would hesitate revealing so much about myself.
I think it's not a formula, Chloe. It really depends on the person, the connection, and the context. In their case, maybe being away from their usual surroundings, in the backdrop of beautiful Vienna, added to their comfort level.
Perhaps. By the way, we had asked our listeners to share their interesting courtship stories last week, remember? I think now would be a good time to discuss some of them.
Oh, yes. Let's dive into those stories. I remember this one from John in Canada, who shared his own before sunrise moment when he found love in a train journey across Europe. Don't you think the timeline was a bit rushed, Chloe?
Ah, you read my mind, Evelyn. It felt to me like they were in a race against time. Jesse and Celine had to bare their souls in just a matter of hours. There's something beautiful yet unsettling about it.
Interesting. There's a part of me that wonders if it was the rush of it all that amplified their attraction to each other. The urgency, the novelty of it, the thrill of being vulnerable with a stranger in a foreign city. It's all so beautifully chaotic.
Funny that you say that, because I've experienced something a bit similar. Care to hear?
Oh, please, you got us all intrigued now.
Well, back when I was in France before I moved to Seoul, I had this whirlwind romance. We met at a party and spent the whole night talking, just like Jesse and Celine. Within a month, we declared ourselves madly in love. But as you can imagine, that flame died out as quickly as it sparked. We barely knew enough about each other to sustain a relationship.
That's brave of you to share. Maybe the allure of this movie, and of experiences like yours, is that they make us question the conventional idea of courtship. Could real love be unlocked under such circumstances?
Mine didn't. But who's to say it's impossible? Maybe there's no right timeline for love to blossom.
And that's what makes love stories so captivating, right? They defy conventions and make us believe in the unbelievable. Spontaneity. It's whimsical, exciting, and unpredictable. Just like Celine and Jesse's spontaneous decision to get off the train, right?
Definitely. It's like they were swept up in this wave of impulsiveness. And look where it led them.
It makes me wonder, how much of our lives are defined by these impulsive, spur-of-the-moment decisions?
You're on to something, Evelyn. I mean, imagine if Celine and Jesse had decided not to leave the train together. Their story would have been quite different.
Or perhaps non-existent?
Possibly. It was that one decision that set everything in motion.
And it wasn't a calculated decision. It was a leap of faith in a stranger.
True. They didn't weigh the pros and cons, overthink and analyze every detail. But isn't that often the case with opportunities wrapped in spontaneity?
On a similar note, one of our listeners, Sarah, shared a story with us. She met her partner at an impromptu gathering, one she almost didn't attend. She said, "If it weren't for my spur-of-the-moment decision, we probably wouldn't even know each other."
That's so beautiful. And really, it's these unplanned, unexpected moments that sometimes change the course of our lives.
Our discussion so far primarily revolves around optimistic scenarios. But then, spontaneity can bring challenges too, wouldn't you say?
Yes, that's true. Spontaneous decisions are risky. They might not always have a happy ending. But isn't that the thrill of it? Evelyn, let's delve deeper into the themes of love portrayed. We've examined the initial chemistry, the impromptu courtship. But what about soulmates? Do you think Jesse and Celine can be defined as soulmates?
That's an intriguing question, Chloe. Soulmates, huh? In Before Sunrise, that concept is both romantic and challenging, somewhat like a seesaw.
A seesaw? You're going to have to explain that one.
Yeah, bear with me for a moment. I believe the film led us to a teetering balance of depth and fickleness of love, a semblance of bliss and chaos. At times, Jesse and Celine seem to be the epitome of soulmates. Their harmony is stunning, their connection, electric.
I agree with you there. Their conversations, how they almost effortlessly dive into abstract philosophical quandaries or the quirky little insights into their lives, it almost felt like they were designed for each other.
On the flip end, however, soulmates are often seen as two halves of a whole, as if they're incomplete without one another. But both Jesse and Celine seem to be complete individuals in their own right, don't they?
They do. That's one of the interesting nuances of this movie, I think. You don't get the sense that they are incomplete or that they're necessarily looking for someone to complete them.
Exactly. And that's why I believe their story defies that typical frame of soulmates. They might not fit the standard description, yet their connection feels undeniably intense.
But then again, is there really a standard description for soulmates? Isn't that also a form of enduring love, which is another central theme? Isn't that what Jesse and Celine represent?
You might be onto something, Chloe. It's interesting how the movie portrays such complex themes of love with such grace.
Let's consider Evelyn. Could the events of Before Sunrise happen in real life?
Oh, the romantic in me wants to shout a resounding yes. But love, as we know, is more complex.
Honestly, I've had such a hard time believing in the instant magical connection they had. It's like the stars aligned for them, and that doesn't really happen in real life, does it? Yet it's so captivating in a cinematic setup, despite its likelihood of happening being doubtful.
Exactly. There's this quote by F. Scott Fitzgerald: "There are all kinds of love in this world, but never the same love twice." Each love story is unique, constrained by its circumstances and the individuals involved.
So you think the possibility is greater when we consider the multiplicity of love? Would you believe it if you hadn't seen the movie?
Interestingly enough, I've questioned the same thing. Before Sunrise strikes a balance between the fairy tale romance we dream of and the reality that love and life are complicated. Their bond was formed in a unique setting, isolated from their real-life responsibilities. That's why I think such an extreme romantic scenario might not be so realistic in our everyday lives.
That's a good point. Plus, don't forget the dread of the morning arrival. While they're still entranced by the Vienna magic, they have to face the reality that their paths are destined to split, which adds a sense of impending doom.
Yes, and it brings to light another interesting aspect. The movie is as much about separations as it about connections. Maybe that's why it resonates with so many viewers, because love is indeed filled with hellos and goodbyes.
Well, maybe that's the answer then. It's the grounded aspects of their love, the reality that seeps into their enchanting night, which makes it relatable and less fictitious.
Or perhaps, Chloe, the beauty of Before Sunrise is that it celebrates the illusion of a single night's romance, full of potential, yet fading as sunrise approaches. It's that ephemeral blend of realism and dreams that captivates us.
Before Sunrise wrapped the audiences in a warm, enchanting bubble, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It was both nerve-wracking and exhilarating. It's because the film captures the essence of fleeting youth and the exhilarating yet uncertain beginnings of romantic love.
True. It sets forth a realm where time seems to slow down. It's all just long walks and deep talks. It's something so passionately relatable.
And because it was so relatable, it left a mark on the societal psyche. The movie became a cult classic, resonating with a whole generation who saw pieces of their own love stories in Jesse and Celine's journey.
Before Sunrise gave us the romance we craved and showed us the power of connection. It questioned the concept of soulmates and enduring love. Remember how the film showcased the protagonists who had to part ways when it was all just starting?
That was a heartbreak. But now, years later, do we actually believe in Jesse's concept of love?
It's hard to not get swept up in Jesse's romanticism, but on reflection, I think love evolves with time and circumstances. But the movie did leave a long-lasting impact on my personal perception of love and a fear of separation.
I contrast that with my personal experiences, where love has been an amalgamation of shared moments and experiences, not so much Jesse's idea of soulmates separated at birth. Yet I'm not immune to the allure painted in the movie.
Love is never the same, is it? The enduring appeal of Before Sunrise lies precisely in this. It doesn't dictate what love should be, but tells a story that resonates with the viewers, allowing us to derive our own meaning.
That's exactly it, Chloe. It's a film that has become an integral part of the cinematic love letter sent across generations, complementing our diverse perspectives and experiences of love.
Perfect segue to our next point, don't you think? That fear of separation we were discussing actually forms the foundation for the other films in the Before trilogy.
That's right. Before Sunset and Before Midnight dive deeper into Jesse and Celine's lives and relationship. Before Sunrise gives us what we could call a clean slate. It's all potential and possibilities. But Before Sunset and Before Midnight present us the reality of Jesse and Celine's love story.
Exactly. Beginning with a chance meeting on a train, Before Sunrise essentially becomes a promise, a symbol of what could be. The film concludes in a way that leaves you hanging on the edge of your seat in anticipation for the sequels.
I think this open-ended nature of Before Sunrise is what makes it the perfect setup for its sequels. The movie ends with a promise of meeting again, without exchanging any numbers or even last names. This concept was such a breath of fresh air amidst the rise of technology and digital communication.
Yes, and this wonderful concoction of romance and reality continues into the sequels, doesn't it? Can we say they amplify the nuances introduced in Before Sunrise?
Absolutely, Chloe. The sequels reveal the impact of their decisions, their evolving personalities, and how distance and time have shaped their relationship. It's really fascinating to see this continuation of their journey, which was initiated in Before Sunrise.
So, Evelyn, we wandered around Vienna tonight, basked in the romance of Jesse and Celine's conversations in Before Sunrise.
And pondered over things like chance encounters, instant chemistry, and enduring love. It made me nostalgic for a time of pure romance devoid of technology.
I must say, it's been touching to delve into the magic of that first movie.
Definitely. That rendezvous on a train leading to endless conversations and a newfound connection. It's a testament to the mystery of love, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Before Sunrise doesn't just encapsulate a whirlwind romance, but serves as a signpost on the path of love, filled with its own set of tangents and stopping points.
Well put, Chloe. And speaking of new paths, I think our listeners would be thrilled to know what's in store for the next episode.
Ah, yes. Next we jump a few oceans across to a love story under the glimmering lights of Manhattan. Get ready to discuss the witticism, spark, and realities of love in When Harry Met Sally.
Sounds splendid. So until next time, keep your heart open, your words real, and your moments meaningful. This is Evelyn signing off.
And this is Chloe, wishing you a life full of movie-like moments, radiant smiles, and lots of love. Au revoir till our next chat.